just to introduce myself, I am Andrew Cowan. I founded a small accountancy practice called Accounting Studio some 3 years ago, after many years working in PwC, helping people put in accounting systems to small businesses, so sole traders, entrepreneurs, and sort of businesses up to maybe 50, 100 staff type sizes. Come on in. Okay.
All right.
Sorry, you can stop it and go again.
Oh, sorry. No, go on ahead. Sorry. That's my bad.
Alright. So yes, worked in PwC for many years, helping small businesses with accounting systems, and founded Accounting Studio, as I say, some 3 years ago. Around about that time, there was a lot of talk about cloud computing, with a lot of people obviously becoming familiar with things like Google Mail, Hotmail, and starting to take that further into calendars and mobile devices. But the problem at that point was that accounting systems traditionally were installed software. So Sage, Tasbooks, and products like that came in a box that were installed either on a server or on a desktop machine somewhere in the corner of somebody's shop, warehouse unit, or whatever it was. But in essence, what happened was your accounts were on a particular computer in one location, and that was where you had to be to access it. And similarly, the costs of that were fairly substantial, so it was an expensive business to buy accounting software. So around about 3 or 4 years ago, cloud computing came about, and accounting software started to become available on the cloud, and we were probably one of the first people in Northern Ireland to jump on that bandwagon and get involved with Xero online accounting software, which you can see the logo for there on the bottom of that slide. So I just want to take you through a bit of information about cloud computing, what it actually is, and how you can take, for a very small amount of money, apps that are out there on the internet for a very small monthly fee, put them all together and make them work, not only accounts but other useful applications as well.
Welcome. I have the pleasure of introducing you.
Oh, go ahead, Eve.
Andrew actually is my accountant, so, and I guess I shouldn't be saying that in front of Martin, because I at some point promised to hire them, but really, Andrew won. Anyway, cloud accounting. We actually had a speaker at BizCamp Belfast speak on the subject, and the reception was excellent. I know for me, as I'm the go-to person. The idea that at any point in time, Andrew can look at what a mess I have made of my books is pretty impressive. But more importantly, as I use things like PayPal or Eventbrite or whatever, the fact that all of that comes together effortlessly is quite amazing. So enjoy the talk, and I'll be wandering in and out of various rooms, but thank you. Thank you for coming, and thanks for your time.
So, yes, just to give you a bit of information, hopefully you get going now, about the cloud itself, what we mean by the term cloud, what it is, and also then how you can build a nice suite of applications for your business that all talk to each other. The problem at the minute is that we have information everywhere. I don't know about you, but we have information in all sorts of places, spreadsheets, databases, to-do lists, internet sites, everywhere you look, there's information somewhere that needs done, and there's piles of paper kicking around the house, the car, the office. What we're trying to do is try and get away from that information overload and try and get a suite of applications that keeps everything managed, and that everybody in your business is also familiar with what they need to do on what application, and make them all talk to each other, which is the big thing. So challenges are information overload. There's all sorts of statistics out there about how much information is available in the world, and it's quite staggering. But actually, I think what's becoming more important now is the collaboration and the access anywhere. So there's a lot of good case studies out there at the minute, and even things being used in adverts about collaboration between businesses, between people from remote locations. I don't know if you've noticed the Google advert on TV where the lady has the coloured satchels, and the kid's going off to school and she designs a satchel, and the next thing she's communicating with people around the world, getting samples made up, sending them out to newspapers. And that's all coming off the back of Google saying that we have all these applications that allow you to do this from your living room. So it's no longer that dusty PC in the corner of your warehouse or your office. You can do it from wherever, your phone, your living room, your office. And that's the thing, everybody now has smartphones and has come to expect that at minimum will have their email on their calendar. Well, let's take a step further and let's get all your business applications on there. These are the challenges. I'm sure you're all familiar with sending spreadsheets about the place, and I'll email you and you'll email it on to somebody else and you'll forward it to somebody else, and there's version 0.1, 0.2, and then somebody changes the naming convention, it becomes underscore final, final version 2, final for a client, version 3, and then somebody comes back with a change to something, and it's like, whoa, hold on a minute, what do we change? How do we all make sure we're all singing off the same hymn sheet? So again, stuff like Google Apps has built-in spreadsheets and Word documents and things like that, where everybody can actually collaborate on the one document and save in one place, and you can track changes and things like that. So it gets away from the need of me having to email it to you, to somebody else, and you download it and you save it to your machine. It's a complete palaver. So again, simple things like collaboration become very, very easy to do. From the technology perspective, now I don't know what types of businesses you all operate, but in years gone by, particularly with accountants, we tended to have a server somewhere in the corner of the office with a lot of client data on it, a lot of financial information. There was a lot of upkeep in that server, there was a lot of license fees, there was a lot of support costs, there was a lot of energy being used by the thing. You had to make sure that it didn't fail. If it failed, the office was out of action, you had to go get somebody to fix it, etc., etc. You then ended up with all sorts of servers, because you had a special one for your BlackBerry devices, then you maybe had a file print server, then you maybe had some other kind of server operating in Sage and other softwares. So somebody had this rack of all this stuff, which cost thousands to buy. And what I'm saying now is, you don't need any of that. All you need is a credit card and a monthly subscription to whatever applications that you need. And it's available anywhere. You don't have to worry about maintenance, you don't have to worry about security, you don't have to worry about going on fire, you don't have to worry whether it gets knocked over or something gets spilt on it. That all becomes somebody else's responsibility, and I'll show you the sort of facilities that we're talking about for that too. So what is cloud computing? Okay, the term cloud actually came out a few years ago, and it basically means stuff happens out there on the internet in this virtual cloud, and we all tap into it. So we would all sit as users and we tap into this sort of thing. So even things like Facebook, Amazon, you could call those cloud because they're services delivered over the internet. That's really what it means. In essence, I think the word cloud will disappear in the next few years, because the way software is consumed is changing. People no longer even expect to get a CD now. If you're getting software, the familiarity is there that people will actually download it and install it. Okay, so the term cloud is even disappearing. I think that's just going to become the norm, the accepted way that software is delivered. So that's what it is. It's up there in the internet, and we all tap into it with our various devices, and it's all delivered through a web browser. Okay, so as long as you've got an internet browser, you can look at it on your phone, your tablet, your netbook, your laptop, your PC, whatever it is.
You want a question? Sure.
Yes, no, go ahead.
I was just going to ask, obviously the cloud doesn't cover the whole of the country. There are areas of the
Yeah.
IT make a big thing about the States, but also Belfast and the cities. There are huge areas out in the rural parts of Northern Ireland, but I have a quarter meg connection, and for cloud applications, that's a real problem.
It is.
Do you see any?
The only thing, the thing with that is that the cloud application model isn't going away.
No.
The thing is that you're stuck between a rock and a hard place, and you have to wait for broadband to catch up in your area with essentially the rest of the world. Now, I think I had some more statistics about that, which I think I actually took the slide out. But the coverage statistics are actually very good on the whole across the UK. There are gaps out there, and I know actually some local communities who are getting involved in setting up their own broadband. There was one high-profile one just recently, I think it was maybe Hertfordshire, where the rural community got together and actually they crowdfunded money. Everybody contributed, and they dug up a trench and they got fibre brought up into the village, and they basically set up a business model where everybody in the village paid them instead of paying BT or Sky or whatever it was, and they had actually a very, very fast connection because it was only supplying them. Stuff like that can happen, again, if people make the effort. The other thing is, yes, you're quite right, you're entirely reliant on an internet connection to make it work. If you don't have that, that's a fairly major point. People also cite things like, you're reliant on BT, and if your broadband does go down, what do you do? But they seem to forget that even though it's delivered via the cloud, if they have email on a traditional style, it still has to go down a phone line to go out somewhere anyway. So that's another thing. People sometimes say, but BT and phone line goes down, you can't send an email anyway, whether it's delivered by a employer or not. But yeah, you're sort of stuck between a rock and a hard place. But you know, there are things out there. If you have a big enough community, you can make things happen, I guess. Although to be fair, actually sometimes the mobile coverage is just as good. I'm not sure where he actually lived. We used to live outside Derry, halfway up the hill, and the landline broadband was awful, but 3G on 3 mobile was actually very good. Sometimes the cut down version of the apps that are designed for mobile use are quite light. They don't take up that much in terms of effort to operate. So, cloud computing, what is it? Why should I care? Benefits, the real benefits are access anytime, anywhere. So you don't have to go to that dusty computer in the corner. You can see it on your phone, you can raise invoices when you're out with the client. I mean, that's a big thing. If you're sitting in front of somebody, you finish up, you've done a piece of work. It's actually quite nice to say, are you happy with everything? Are you happy for me to invoice you? And you go, boom, 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 you go, what's your email address? Email it to them, and there's in their inbox before you've even left the building. Rather than having to go back and try and do that, and then maybe they have a question or a query or something. You get all that aired and you get it done and dusted before you've even left them. There's also the reliability and the security side of it. The statistics again are staggering. I mean, Google is citing email uptime of over 99% for 2010 and 2011, 99.94%. I'm fairly certain that Google are going to do a better job of keeping my email running than me maintaining the server in the corner of my office. So unless you can do better, that's good enough for me. The other thing is the dramatically lower costs. Again, phenomenal sort of statistic lying at the bottom there. Cloud-based email is always cheaper for companies with fewer than 15,000 users. So I mean, that's basically every business in this country. So yeah, I mean, if you look at taking a Microsoft Exchange server and all the things that go with it, and that's how the costs tail off. That's where Google Apps sits, for example. So it's less than $10 per user per month compared to $20, $30. So it makes absolutely no sense in my mind to be buying a server for your business. This is what I'm talking about in terms of data centers. That picture, the photograph is the new, well, it's a couple of years old now, data center built outside Dublin by Microsoft. They spent $500 million building it, and it's a fairly impressive facility. And again, it comes back to my point of, would you rather your data sat on servers somewhere there in a fairly secure location that's mirrored in places around the world, or would you rather in a box in the corner of your own office that something might happen to? So I know where I would rather put my money. Also staggering that Google controls over 1 million servers worldwide. That's a phenomenal number. 99.984. So there we are. People always say, but is it reliable? What happens if it goes down? Well, your chances are fairly slim. Okay, so I mean that sentence there basically says, to put that in context, it means 7 minutes of downtime a month over the past year, and that's including sub-second issues that you wouldn't even ever be aware of. So, say there's always people going, is it safe? Is it reliable? Well, I think that sort of says it all. So, this is a bit that kind of gets me a bit more excited. Now you sort of know what it is. There's a vast empire of applications out there that are delivered via the web. And people always talk about cloud computing, things like this, but they never really give you ideas as to what you can take away and what you can actually do and what you can use. So I wanted to give people examples of what is out there. So there's some, you'll be aware of some, and you might not be aware of others. Google Apps is a big one, obviously, for email, calendar, document management, things like that. Dropbox, fantastic app. I'm sure Martin uses it as well. You can synchronize files across multiple devices. Okay, so it's kind of like having Windows Explorer, but it's available on your phone, your iPad, your computers in your office, etc. And everybody can share off the one place. Salesforce for customer relationship management. Yes, there's very expensive versions of it for big enterprises. There's also cheap, slightly cut down versions for smaller businesses, and there's other similar customer relationship management tools out there. Xero, which is my favourite, is the online accounting. Skype, I'm sure we've all heard of, but maybe not considered actually using it for business. Allows you to make free phone calls over the internet and video calls. It's always sort of touted for keep in touch with your relations in Australia. Well, yes, but a lot of businesses also use it. Video calls, etc. And you can take a handset into your phone, work away on it. What else might you not maybe be hugely familiar with? Evernote. Evernote's brilliant. If anybody's ever used it for keeping notes, saving snippets of web pages, and again accessing it on your phone, your iPad. You can sit and watching the TV, you look something up, you go, "Flip, that's really useful. I must save that in a note." You put it in a note in a wee folder somewhere, and you can look at it tomorrow when you go into work. You can, use it for personal use, use it for business use. It's brilliant just for keeping track of things. Wunderkinder, again, it's a good to-do list application. If you're looking for something that's good to track what you need to do, put times against it, and email things to people. Dragon dictation, brilliant again. Talk to your phone, it types. As long as you speak clearly and you're not, got a bad, strong Northern Ireland accent, but it does sort of get to know you. And Zoho, another good one, which is a bit like Google Apps and gives you a suite of all sorts of different things in terms of email, calendar, project management, CRM, invoicing, all built in. So there's a raft of different things. I mean, that's just absolute tip of the iceberg. There's loads of things out there. My kind of daily is the Xero online accounting. Being an accountant by nature, we look at the different online accounting applications that are out there, and there's 3 or 4 good applications. Xero is the one that we have really tried to promote to people because it's a very, very nice interface. It's really simple to use. It's beautifully presented, but it's also very, very functional. Some applications out there are purely for invoicing. Some are more just like kind of bookkeeping applications, but Xero is very much an accounting application. So there are things like fixed asset registers and depreciation. You can post journals like an accountant would actually use, and the big benefit for us is that we have our clients, like Eve said, who use Xero. If she has a problem, she's in Newry, I'm in Bangor. She lifts the phone, she says, "Andrew, can you look at whatever it is?" I log in, I can see it straight away, I can fix it, I can tell her what to do. I can run reports, I can send her management reports every month to see how well she's doing, etc. It's brilliant. Things like Sage, Tasbooks, that type of thing. It would have involved me getting in the car, driving out to the client site, taking it back up on a USB drive, coming back to the office, make sure I have the right version, restore that version, look at it, ring up the client, go, "Yeah, you need to correct this." They would hopefully correct it right, not sure, because I still can't see, because it's their site, not my site. So the whole collaboration thing that I was talking about between your employees earlier on suddenly becomes collaboration between the likes of myself as an advisor, the likes of, I don't know if you've got coaches, or you might have the bank involved or whatever. You can grant people access to your accounting system for no additional costs. Maybe it's only read-only access, maybe it's only access to certain things, but they can do all this from their device. Okay. And the other interesting thing is you can tailor this to suit your business. So we have clients, for example, who might get involved in event management, and they operate Xero. They bring in a team of guys who maybe need to rent vans, rent venues, this sort of thing, maybe rent lighting and studios and stuff like that. They can give those guys access to put on the invoices for this. So if they rent the vans and they get an invoice from Lindsay Ford for van rental, those guys can put on the invoices. Now, they can't see anything else about your business, but they can put on all those invoices for you to then approve to pay them back on their expenses. Okay, so it becomes very, very, very user-friendly from that point of view. And again, there's no extra cost for that. So you're talking 20 quid a month for a piece of software that you can do all sorts of things with. If you think back to your Sages that you're paying £500, £600, £700 to buy a CD, you're then paying £200 a year for support, or another £200 for a single user license, and you can only use it on that machine. It's hard to justify, in my mind, the cost of that. So, taking this a step further, so we've seen that there's all sorts of apps out there. We've heard that I'm a big fan from the accounting side of things of Xero. The big thing in my mind is how do we then help businesses actually implement an ecosystem, as we call it. Okay, so that's all very well you sitting there listening to me going, "Well, that's great, Andrew, but whenever I go back to my office, what do? How do I make this happen?" So really what you want to do is you want to think about your processes in your business. What do you actually do? Who do you need to communicate with? And how do you need to communicate with them? Okay. The easiest thing to do is sit and draw a quick map. Okay, so you've probably got your staff, you've got your end customers. This is sort of a typical generic kind of a map here. Your end customer might be a walk-in person off the street, or it might be somebody online. Okay. What I'm saying is, have a think then about the stages that run up to you actually making contact with those people. So if it's your staff or if it's your customers, how do you interact with them and what are the touch points? And at each touch point, what is the system that you need to put in place to manage that touch point or that interaction? Okay, so if you think about it, what I'm saying here is at its core of your business really, from my point of view, is the finances. Okay, because ultimately you want to be making money. If you're not making money, there's a question whether you should be in business or not. So from my point of view, we help people look after the bookkeeping, the payroll, the accounts, that type of thing, off zero, and you can interact with us. You can run your reports, you can manage your accounts, that's fine, and that will go up and you'll interact with your staff from that point of view, so you can look at performance reports and so on, that's fine, but it won't really go outside of the staff. This bit down here tends to be then the piece out to customers. So if you use Google Apps, for example, or Microsoft 365 or some kind of email calendar type software, that's fine. What you might want to do then is hook that into customer relationship management. Okay, and basically what that means is you keep track of all your customers and what they do. So a great example is if you go and buy a car. Isaac and you brilliant at this, okay? They nearly convinced me to buy a Mini many years ago. Car sales dealers used to have a wee black book and used to keep records. Now they do it online, okay? So they'll take a note of your car reg whenever you drive in. They'll have a wee chat with you. They'll write down a bit about you, your name, oh you're going on holidays, brilliant, oh your kids just started university, whatever it is. The next time you drive in to go and look at a new Mini, they'll say, oh look, there's your number plate. And look up and go, ah, Martin, how you doing? Good to meet you. Did you enjoy Lanzarote when you were there? And you'll think this is great. And that's how they do it, because they track all this on the software. What you want that to do then is talk to your email marketing, because what you then want to do is send out an email to somebody, okay? But if you take a good example again, an art gallery, somebody might be interested in fine art that you have in the room here. Somebody else might be interested in real out there modern art. Now if you're running an event which is an exhibition of somebody's modern art, do you want to be sending an email to people who paid thousands of pounds to buy a piece of your fine art? And they're going to turn up, they're probably not going to be interested in the modern art. So something here to manage your customers and your emails, so that you're only sending emails to relevant people, okay? Another example for anybody in the boating world, you might have the yachties and the part boaters. May or may not be interested in the same things, but there's quite a distinction between the two, okay? Could be the same with mountain bikes and road bikes, that type of thing. So you're targeting your email to the right type of customer. Eventbrite, Eve actually mentioned it there. If you're then going to start running an event, so you'll get emails probably telling you BizCamp's coming up, reminding you to come here and reminding you how to speak and you have to put some slides together. So people were coming on, customers were coming on to the website. Actually, Irish should go that way too. Because they were booking on Eventbrite, you're saying, yes, you're coming. And Eve was then using an email application that every week she was reminding you that this is coming up, this great event. Okay, so very quickly, and for not much money, you've got half a dozen core applications here that are available on any device that all talk to each other. Okay, so anytime you make a change, so if somebody gets married and you change their name on here, it'll change on their email. It'll change on their invoice, go now to zero if you're sending them an invoice. So everything talks back and forth to each other. Okay, so to me, that's what becomes this suite of integrated software applications for small business. Now, if you go back even 5 years, I was going to say 10 years, but even 5 years, that wasn't really possible. It's maybe just about possible. If you go back 10 years, that was hugely expensive. That's the kind of thing that the big businesses would have had. Now, what I'm saying is for 20 quid a month, for 8 quid a month, for somewhere between free and 8 quid a month, for somewhere between, again, free and 10 quid a month, and similarly Eventbrite, kind of free to 8, 10 quid a month, or per booking on an event, you can suddenly have a brilliant integrated suite of business applications to run your business. You can keep in constant contact with your customers, you can tell them the right information, and you can do it from wherever. So if you've got a spare hour, like, I don't know, this afternoon after lunch before you go and you meet somebody, or once you're finishing up here, or I don't know, maybe it's going to be a good week and you're going to go to Portrush for a couple of days at the end of the week to your holiday home. Nobody needs to know that you're sitting in your pyjamas, drinking breakfast, sending out marketing emails. It's brilliant. Unless you use a Skype video call, but if you keep it in messages, they'll not mind in your pyjamas. So that really is, I think, what kind of gets me excited. One of the things, I know we're not sort of meant to do sales pitches, but one of the things which I've learned from doing this and helping customers of ours do this, from an accounts point of view, we would tend to have people come and go, oh yeah, the online account is brilliant. And we're going, well, have you thought about, and maybe even attaching on things like point of sale and e-commerce sites and so on as well, that all talk back to each other. But one of the big things is picking the right solution and then implementing it. Okay, so what can happen is you get sucked into researching all this online, and there's all these different applications, and you'll try them out, you'll not be sure what suits you, and then you'll say, well, what about the data I have? Maybe I've got spreadsheets, maybe I've got databases, how do I get that on? So, to me at the minute there's a bit of a gap, and this is what I'm trying to get out to people, is that there's just a bit of a gap between understanding what you need, getting the right system, and then actually implementing it. Okay, so and I suppose from our experiences we can help people actually put it in, actually bring your data onto these things, and turn it on and teach you how to use it. Okay, because the principle is very easy. The principle of turning these things on is very easy, but it does take a bit of effort to actually put the data on, understand how to use it, you know, gather up all those email addresses that you have that you need for your email marketing app, gather up all the customer relationship management data that you need. But the nice bit about it is, because these things are integrated, for example, if you send an email from Google Apps, there'll be a little box at the bottom that says, oh look, you've sent an email to Martin Gilchrist, do you want to add him to your CRM database? And you can press yes, and I'll suck in his name, his email address, and anything else on that email that's relevant, phone numbers, addresses, and it'll populate that for you. Okay, so that's what I mean by these things being integrated. They all work together. They almost suggest to you, do you know what, you might want to think about doing this, and you can click a button and we can do it. That's really the height of my talk at the minute.